Live with balanced news you can count on. This is News 4 at 4.
All right, Jimmy, thank you. On Friday, you know, we had that first freeze warning for southern Arizona. Time to remember the 4 Ps. We're talking people, pets, pipes, and plants.
That's right. Our 5-minute gardener, Debbie Mounts, has the best ways to cover and protect our delicate plants and flowers. And she joins us now to talk about the plants and the cold weather. First thing, even if it looks like it was frozen and maybe dead, it might not be, right?
Right, it might not be. Lots of times what will happen in the freezes, they get progressively worse. So I brought a model here today. I brought a bougainvillea, which is one of the ones we get most of our questions about at the nursery. Now what will happen in your first freeze is, let's assume you protected this, but it's still got a little bit of damage. So let's say this much of the plants, let's say all the flowers and this much of the plant was damaged and looks kind of ugly now.
Yeah.
And you want it to look nice, so you come along, you cut that off. What then happens is then you're exposing more of the plant to harder freezes. So in other words, then each time you cut anything off, you're exposing the part that's still green to more potential damage. And you can actually get it to where you're taking that freeze and damage right down into the base of the plant.
So the exposed, damaged part of the plant will then act as a protector as more freezing days come along.
Yeah, basically it's kind of like the defensive line on the football team. You know, the blockers get out there, and these guys that are frozen, they're the blockers for the rest of the plant. They're the ones that are providing that protection.
So what is the biggest mistake besides chopping too soon and pruning?
Well, the biggest mistake that a lot of people do, and John was just talking about that to me as a gardener at their house, who just at this time of the year has cut everything back. Now what happens is when you cut any plant back is it encourages brand new growth, and that brand new growth is much more sensitive than old, what we call hardened off growth that has been gone through the season and is tougher basically. It's not as tender as that new growth. So you don't want to really prune anything right now. You start to do your pruning in the spring again. You just leave all of this alone until the big danger, the frost, has really started to pass.
Well, and do the plants get confused here in the desert? Because we could have sunny, warm days and then freezing cold nights, and the plants in a state of shock, not knowing whether to hibernate or
yes. Grow. And last year was a perfect example of that, because we had extended warm weather into the winter, and so the plants some of them were blooming that shouldn't have even been blooming, and then we got some real hard freezes last year. A lot of people lost plants. Things like bougainvillea, once they're established, but things like a bougainvillea, once they're established after a couple years, they can freeze to the ground and come back as long as they have a good enough root system on them.
Quickly, what would be good to plant this time of year? Is there anything that would be good?
Anything that's deciduous is fine to plant. And what deciduous means, it just loses all the leaves in the winter. And it means that the plant just goes dormant. Basically, it just kind of sits there and waits through the cold weather. And so it's much more cold tolerant than some of our evergreen things are.
Debbie, great stuff. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
We appreciate it.